One of the main things I get when I tell people to get into Phasmophobia is I don't do horror games. On the one hand, there's nothing wrong or unusual about just not being into a genre. On the other hand, I don't actually think the game is that scary. When I first started playing, I was about as scared as you could be, and I would just alt F4 as soon as anything remotely scary happened. However intimidated you think you are by this game, you cannot possibly be worse than I was. So, how did I go from that to level 1800? The main mistake I see from beginners who are scared of the game is that they think if only they can avoid getting into hunts, then they can play the game without it being scary. To be fair, there is some merit to that idea, but I think this misses the point. The game just isn't fun if you always play it safe. You'll get tired of doing the same thing over and over and eventually quit thinking the game is really boring. What makes the game fun for me is the idea that I'm deliberately taking on risk and that it's up to my skill and knowledge of the game whether I earn money or lose my items. And so I think the right mentality to have is so what if the ghost hunts? I don't care if the ghost hunts. If anything, it's helping me because it can help me complete objectives or identify the ghost. Once you get good at surviving hunts, it gets a lot less scary. Even if you think the ghost is scary or the approaching footsteps are scary or whatever, it just doesn't hit the same when you know nothing's going to happen to you. Anyway, let's get some actual gameplay advice. For starters, you should always have a plan for what to do in case the ghost hunts. As soon as you start the investigation, you need to scout out hiding spots to see where they are and which ones aren't blocked. When you find a ghost room, you need to figure out where you're going to go if the ghost hunts while you're in or near the ghost room. If there's a hiding spot directly in the ghost room, then it's not always a good idea to go there unless you're very close when the hunt starts or you're playing on amateur or intermediate, which have a longer grace period. If the ghost sees you going into a hiding spot, then you still get killed. Thus, the ideal hiding spot is one that's close to the ghost room, but with at least one corner or obstacle in the path that lets you break line of sight if the ghost is already chasing you. The other plan you need is what you're going to do if the ghost hunts right as you're about to leave. If there's a hiding spot very close to the entrance, then this usually isn't a problem. But if there isn't, and the ghost room is close to the entrance, then you might want to leave a smudge stick and lighter on the floor. Then you can just smudge through the ghost and get to a hiding spot. Overall, under normal circumstances, you are pretty much fine if you have a solid plan. I also want to talk about hiding spot safety. Generally speaking, hiding behind furniture and obstacles is less safe, and there's a chance the ghost finds you anyway. For most hiding spots, this chance is very small, and you're more likely to have your game crash or something than you are to get killed, so I wouldn't worry about it. However, there are a couple so called hiding spots that really are awful and should be avoided if possible. While this isn't a complete list, this one in Richview and these two in Willow are terrible. Closets and lockers are more reliable, but you can't just AFK once you get inside because the ghost can open the door. This really isn't something to be afraid of though. Just be alert and close it again. You can also hold the door by not letting go of click if you want to be absolutely safe. Finally, I would recommend leaving the lights on in the room with the hiding spot you intend to use. That way, you'll know more reliably when the hunt is over. Now, if you still think hunts are scary, it probably has something to do with these next two ghosts. The demon can hunt at 70% sanity, its hunt cooldown is only 20 seconds, and it also has an ability to hunt at any sanity. This ability is rare, but it's not as rare as it used to, and I've seen it several times. Some people really flip out about this ghost, and they think they have to be super careful so long as there's a chance it's a demon, but I think this is unmerited. Honestly, I wouldn't even worry about the ability. since you should be scouting out hiding spots anyway. Even if there's a totally unexpected hunt and you have no clue where the ghost room is, there's still like an 80% chance you're fine, as long as you run to the nearest hiding spot. As for the early hunts, it's a good habit in general to start bringing in crucifixes by the time your sanity is in the 70s. Crucifixes have a longer effective range for demons, so if it's a demon, then the early hunt is extremely likely to be stopped by a crucifix, assuming you've found the ghost room. Here's the main thing though, maybe the first time it uses its ability or early hunts is scary, but if you survive the first hunt, then you know it was a demon because it hunts way early but it's not fast. And then the investigation is made easy and you don't have to stick around for a lot longer. The Deogen always knows where you are and it's also super fast, but it slows down as it gets closer to you. You can't hide from it, and you can only loop it if you want to survive. That sounds scary, but it's also a late hunter. It hunts at 40% sanity, giving you plenty of time to figure out the ghost. The odds of getting an unexpected hunt without knowing it's a Deogen are very little. But even if you do, you can probably tell it's a Deogen as soon as you hear its footsteps. Sure, the thigh is also fast, but it would also early hunt if it's still fast, so it's hard to confuse the two. Then you can get out of your hiding spot and find a place to loop it. Even a medium sized room is normally good enough to loop, assuming there's no obstacles. And even if there's nowhere to loop, you can also just walk backward very slowly until the hunt ends. Overall, this ghost is actually one of the safest most of the time. And that's the end of the video. Overall, Phasmophobia is just not scary. There aren't really jump scares or stuff like that, and hunts are basically a matter of whether you prepared or not. Also, you should totally join my Discord server, which is in the description below. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.